Yeah, it is. There we go. Okay, I
It's
think we're
recording
good.
to the cloud. Yep, okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. Y'all, sorry, I maybe should have checked that before, but it's fine. So we are again, just in case that wasn't recording, from guesswork to gross margin, building a smarter chemical strategy. I'm Haley again, and so we're just going to jump in to the industry. And again, I'm not going to harp on this too much. I know that there was just a webinar on Tuesday with Hal Dunbar talking about the state of pool service, and that had so much industry information in it. But I do want to zoom out for a second. I think the big change that I've personally seen is that this industry is just getting very professional. It's maturing, revenue's up. Most of you are raising prices. Your monthly billing is standard. You have your customers on service agreements. You're doing repairs and you're requiring deposits. Like, no longer is the pool pro in survival mode. I think that all of you are in discipline mode, and growth requires discipline, right? So, and that's what the data shows us. And when we did the pool, state of pool service report, and we took a what is it? I guess like a poll against all of your peers. 84% of you expect more revenue in 2026, which is awesome. That's like super optimistic. Um, but I think the question is like, do you know your cost per pool? I think that your margin shows up in how you package, how you report, how you manage that cost. And we want to make sure that the margin's not quietly slipping away as you have these goals for revenue in 2026. Um, and also, go back one, just wanted to call out 45% of pros are still using fully included, including everything. So I mean, it's not 50-50 right now, but it's pretty darn close, right? So there's still a huge group of people doing the included model. And maybe this will get your juices flowing on how you can kind of recoup some of that cost. So we are going to just talk about, like I said, you're going to hear me gab for just a little bit, the pricing models and what's typical about them. So for model one, we have the tried and true, Chems included, legacy pricing model. Typically, it's a flat rate, includes labor, includes chemicals, no itemized billing. So your customer is getting their invoice and it has $200 a month, flat line item, and maybe a skimmer basket that you installed, right? Why we see that pros like it. It's easy to sell. You have no surprises. Your customer really doesn't have many surprises. Clean invoices, competitive. I think here in Texas, that was the norm. So that's kind of what we did. It's very competitive, and it simplifies admin. So I think across the board, just down there at the bottom, it says it's simple. Your customer understands it. You're good. But where does this break? So I'm sure those of you that are chems included know where this breaks. You have a high month with a lot of tabs being used. You have a customer that has huge trees over their pool and it just gets blasted and you have to make up for it in chemicals. So you can end up spending a lot more in chemical costs than what your customer is paying you, and your margins slip away there. So just like a margin reality down there is like you charge $200 a month. Average chemical cost is maybe around $35. We're talking about chemicals today, but I know that's not the only cost. You got trucks. You got like maintenance on those trucks. You have to pay payroll taxes. Like you have so much overhead that $200 just slips away. And so if there's one thing we can try to control, it is your cost per pool and chemicals. So in this one, just want to call out, these are really good for like high dense routes, stable regions with predictable water. Like if we were thinking Florida, I know Florida pros, maybe some of you are here. A lot of you guys have covers over the pools, like, things that go over them, which there's no leaves in them. They're like pretty simple. So that may be like a really good region for this model. Um, Next, hybrid. So I saw a lot of people in the chat are on hybrid, which is awesome. So what this one looks like is base price is including your routine service and small dosages. So like general maintenance stuff. But you may be billing separately. Shock. You may have like a tab threshold where some of them are included, but over a certain amount they're not. Phosphate removers, algicides, all of that good stuff. So you may have some included, others are not. And why this model is becoming increasingly popular is that it protects against outliers. You have predictable base pricing and it signals professionalism because a lot of times to achieve this, you guys do, probably the majority of your skimmer users, you have to have a platform to help you with this. Your customer is used to reports. They're used to that transparency of seeing what is going into their pool and what they're paying for. So I think it is the balance between simplicity and control. But how do we do this, right? It only works if you are on it and if you have defined a standard. And I think I put some stuff here, like of how to define it, but how many tabs in a month are normal? What are the chlorine ranges that your techs have to maintain? What qualifies as an algae event? What is preventative versus reactive? If you don't have your thresholds for chemicals, you know, defined, and if you don't have okay, we include this much, but over this we don't, and making sure your techs are actually recording that properly, it doesn't work that well. So it is like a disciplined approach to make sure that that works. Oh, let's see. Someone asked to start AI companion, so sure, we can start that. All right, and then who this model works for, we see growing companies utilizing this, multi-tech operations, companies adopting standardized ranges or utilizing the Arenda calculator, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So that is the second. And then lastly, pricing models. So number 3 is Plus Chems. And I did see some of you in the chat that had a Plus Chems. This is great. Pretty much this means you bill everything separately. So your customer has a flat rate they pay per stop or per month. Everything that goes into that pool, they are paying you back for. And why operators move here is, again, full transparency, zero chemical risk. There is risk associated with this, which we'll talk about in a second, but chemical risk, you're getting that back. So you don't have risk there. Clean margins, easier price comparison, but risks. This is kind of similar to hybrid where you have to have really good reporting. You have to have a lot of trust in your technicians that they are getting everything reported so that you can get that back. So there is such a human element here to this one of making sure that is coming back to you. But when done well, this is great. Who this model works for is high-end markets, tech-forward companies, operators with strong reporting and strong internal systems. So this is a great one if you can swing it. So and we are seeing, I see a lot more people than maybe 2 years ago when I started here at Skimmer coming in and having hybrid or fully Plus Chems models. So definitely rising. All right, I'm gonna pause there real quick. We're gonna look at some skimmer stuff real quick because I want to tell you, depending on your model, how things should be set up. But I wanted to call out and see if there were any questions so far, anything that I've run over, or any questions in
Nothing
the
in the
chat.
chat. No questions
Okay,
in the chat right now. But
all right,
I think we'll all monitor as we get diving into
okay.
Skim.
Okay, cool. All right, y'all. So the next thing I wanted to look at, and this is going to set us up really well because we're going to be looking at your reporting today. And we are going to be seeing what it looks like. Is it good? And so if we want to look at and see what is set up in Skimmer to make your reporting accurate. And if there is anything in this list based on your model that's not set up, then that's just an opportunity to go and take care of it. And yes, Maria, we are getting a recording of this. This is, again, we don't typically record these, but we are this time because it's valuable. So, all right. So I'm gonna split screen. I don't know if a lot of you use Google Chrome, but this new split screen they released is a game changer. I love it. So let's look at this. So on this page, what I have is I have the 3 models. I have Chems Included, Hybrid, and Plus Chems. And below each of those, I have, if we're looking at our account, what should be set up so that our reporting is accurate. So I'm going to actually just start under the customer list because I think this is the easiest way to go about it if you're checking rates. When I come into Skimmer and I take a look at all my customers with route assignments. Now I have them here. I have 91 in my fake dummy account. And I want to check them. I just want to make sure all of them are set up good. So I'm actually just going to select them all and create like a temporary fake little tag. So I'm going to name it temp tag, margin, margin workshop. We'll just do it like that. And I'm going to add that tag to all those customers. I can come back later and get rid of it in bulk as well, but I want to just pull those in and see, do I have the rates in that are going to allow me to look at my profit and my reporting? So I'm going to come in and filter this temp tag. And this is what I should, did it do it? Let's see. Let me do it again. Yeah, I think it did it. Okay, there we go. So this is going to show me if I have any customers that don't have their rate type, their rate type. I want, like, maybe I'm not servicing them and maybe they are still on an old route. Those could be things to check. But ideally, I want everyone to look like Alicia Keys up here. I want to have a rate type, a labor cost, and a labor type in for all of the customers that I do service for, that I put chemicals into their pool for. And I'll just start with Chems Included model. If you are a Chems Included model, here are the things you should check. You should come in here and take a look and make sure that all of your customers have service rates number 1, but are set up either per month with Chems or per stop with Chems. Okay, that'll make sure, even if you're not billing with Skimmer, this is still the way to do it. So if you are billing with Skimmer, I hope this is already done, but if you are not billing with Skimmer, this is needed for us to know, do we include pricing when we do the reporting or do we not? Is it just a cost? So this is important. Per month with Chems, per stop with Chems if you are on model number 1, okay? If you are a hybrid model, meaning you include some, you don't include others, same thing. Per stop with Chems, per month with Chems as the rate type. And we'll get to that in a second why, but this is going to get us what we need for our hybrid model. So just trust me, per stop with Chems, per month with Chems for a hybrid model. That's the key, okay? And then lastly, if you are plus Chems, that's pretty easy. Per stop plus Chems or per month with, plus Chems, per month plus Chems. If you are a plus Chems customer, that one's easy. That one is just there for y'all, so you're good to go, okay? So those are rates to check. That's the first key. And again, this is important if you are billing with Skimmer or if you're not billing with Skimmer, because if this is not in here, our reports kind of don't mean a whole lot. We can't see total profit. Moving down to your dosages though, this is where you can get crafty. So if you are model 1, Chems included, you include everything under the sun, then you want all of your dosages, if I click into liquid chlorine, you want all of your dosages to look something like this. You want to at least have a cost in there if you're Chems included, and you want to make sure you have this can include with service box checked. Okay, and that's what it says over here. Can include with service, checked on all dosages, and the cost box filled in on each dosage type. Okay, and so that's if you're model number 1. If you're model number 2, hybrid, you can pick and choose. So let's say I'm hybrid and liquid chlorine is included. It is something that I don't charge separate for. It's included in maintenance in the whatever I charge the customer per month. I can set it up just like this. So I just need to make sure I have, again, can included with service, checked only on dosages considered maintenance. So that's going to be this one. And a cost filled out. But then let's say on my hybrid model, I don't include tabs. Tabs, I want to charge the customer separate. And yellow treat, I want to charge the customer separate. I would set tabs and yellow treat up like this, where I have a cost per tab, I have a price that I sell it for per tab, per unit of measurement, and then I have this unchecked. That is going to make sure that my reporting looks right, and if you're billing in Skimmer, that your hybrid model actually works and actually bills the customers for the things that you don't include. Okay. And then lastly, Plus Chems customers, you want all of your dosages to look just like this. So you want to have a cost, a price, and you want to have this unchecked because we are billing every single thing back to your customer. And that is set up. So this will be passed to you, and I think it's also in the workbook. So yes, actually, good call out, Amanda. If you are following along in the workbook, I completely forgot about it. There is a model specific setup checklist right here. So you can kind of run down after this or whenever you have time and make sure that these things are set up. It's all laid out for you here in this workbook, okay? All right. Perfect. All right. And then just lastly, before we move on to the fun stuff of us actually digging into your data, I wanted to talk about the LSI dosing calculator and give a very shameless plug on it. So, Arenda. It is something that does not get used enough inside of Skimmer. I swear, when I go into the accounts and I look at the dosages and I see, oh, the Arenda dosing calculator is turned off, I get sad. But it's okay, and I understand why. Arenda is this totally different, method of chemistry, and I think for the majority of the pool industry, range chemistry works, right? Everyone was trained on it. But I think the thing with range chemistry is that it leaves room for interpretation, and that truly matters when we're having the margin conversation because techs can interpret it differently. One tech keeps the chlorine at 3 parts per million, another one keeps it at 5 parts per million. They're both technically in range, but one of them is using different dosages than the other. So it's just it's an interpretation thing, right? You can get different results depending on who's at the pool. And so Arenda really shifts the conversation from changing ranges to maintaining balance. And I think balance improves the unnecessary chemical corrections. It helps that. So I think an important thing to think here with this dosing calculator is it's not something that everyone needs to go and turn on today and switch to overnight. What I actually would say is don't do that. I would actually say that after this webinar next week, I believe on Monday, we are going to be sending out a packet of things for you to follow up on this workshop. And in there, if you are not comfy with Arenda, they have an academy. You can go log on. It's free. My husband, when we enabled this at our company, he was just like, hey guys, here's the information to our techs. Here's the information. You have a month to finish it, and then we're gonna enable this in our company. And just giving your team the time to learn it, to really take it in, to roll that out confidently. They have so many resources, and I think it's just a really great thing to evaluate. Just simply evaluate. So I will make sure that you have all those resources included. If you are an Arenda guru and you don't have this turned on, then it is here if you are on the scaling up tier. But just something to consider before we move on. Amanda, how am I doing? Any questions in the chat? You need my eyeballs on.
No, just a question on when they can bill from the app on mobile, which coming to a neighborhood near you. Mobile Quotes is launching next month. So just
Yes.
sit tight on that. And then the link to the Arenda Academy. Jessica, we are going to be providing you on Monday with a list. In that list is an entire kind of go-to resource on where you find this training material through Arenda. A lot of it is really helpful. You give it right to your text. So again, they have one of the best academies, and it's super helpful. So don't ever feel like if it is something you want to implement that you have to come up with the content and the training. It's already done for you by Arenda. So just keep that in mind. You'll get it on Monday.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. All right, y'all. Well, now is the fun part. So if you have the worksheet and you are following along, we are now in section 2, the 5 strategy questions. And so this is where we're going to start thinking. We're going to start asking ourselves some questions, okay? And I mean, there are a dozen questions. When I was when I was building this, I was like, what questions to ask? There's so many questions when you think about strategy. But I think these five, they definitely determine, I hope, whether your chemical strategy is currently protecting your margin or if it's eroding it. And this section is not about chemistry, chemistry mastery. It's just about clarity. Again, I am not a chemical master, but I have onboarded many pros, and I see over and over again that so many people are just unsure about their strategy. So I think an important thought to have during this is while you're going through answering these questions, think like, would my team answer this the same way I'm answering this right now? Like, does my team believe in the same model and strategy that I have right now, or are they relying on habits? Like where is my team as a whole at in this? And I think that'll help. And so I just put down here like the model you choose matters, obviously, but the clarity inside the model matters more. So the first question that you are going to see here is, what is maintenance versus corrective in my company? So, a lot of companies say they include chemicals, which cool, like that's perfect. But when we talk about which ones, I think you would give a different answer maybe than your tech. Maybe your tech doesn't know what's included and what's not. I think that a great and easy way to break this down is maintenance is expected. These are the things that always have to go into the pool. The chemicals that always have to go in there, no matter what. Maintenance is expected chemicals. Corrective is situational. So some questions to ask yourself while you're filling this out is phosphate remover part of maintenance for my team? Or are we solving a specific issue? Like, are we correcting something, right? Is calcium routine or a correction? Is stabilizer maintenance or corrective? So these are the questions you can ask yourself while you are looking at your list here inside of Skimmer. And you can start asking yourself, like if this is not clearly defined, where we're looking at a list and we know exactly in our package what is maintenance versus what is corrective, your techs are going to define it themselves. And I think when every tech defines it differently, and that's when dosing becomes inconsistent. And then again, inconsistency cuts into our margins. So inside Skimmer, I would just encourage all of you to take some time, look at the list, and maybe you look at this and you say, man, actually, this algicide or this yellow treat that we just like put into the pool, it's actually not maintenance. Like I am just correcting something when I put that in. Maybe I should look into charging for it. Or maybe like this liquid chlorine is maintenance, but it doesn't cost me much. Like maybe I can look into doing some little strategy there. Not that that's a great example, but just something to think about as you look at this list in here, is kind of defining that for your team, and so that everyone knows, hey, when we're putting in these maintenance chems, I expect this. But these corrective chems, maybe we don't want to go crazy on them if we are in an included billing model. And I think defining that can be really, really helpful. Um, so that is the first question to ask yourself. Second one is going to be a bit funner, I think, because now I'm going to show you some reporting. So do I have written caps and guardrails? And I think like a question, maybe if you want to put it in the chat, feel free, but this may be a different answer for everyone. How many tabs per month would make you really uncomfortable to see in a report? Like, if you were going to look at your reporting for tabs, what would you be like, oh my good Lord, that is not good? Or like, what is the highest tab usage that you've seen on a single pool in peak season? I would love to know what those are. But I think when we talk about caps and guardrails, and actually, I'm going to open up the framework here, this little thing right here. When we think about your caps and guardrails, we do have some reports that we're gonna take a look at. And I think I'm gonna throw numbers out there on tabs. This is all just like fake information. This is not real. These are gonna be defined by you guys. But let's just say Your average pool, when we pull these reports, uses 2 to 4 tabs per month. That's maintenance. Like that is you're cool with that. But if we get into these reports and you see, oh man, one pool is using 10, that's an outlier, right? And that is someone maybe we need to look and see like what's going on. And I think without a cap, you're risking sometimes subsidizing high demand pools with low demand pools. So here are some guardrails to consider, just to think about, and you can write them down. Written dosing ranges. Do your technicians have a document that tells them the dosing ranges that you expect of them? Monthly tab caps. If maybe your average is 4 to 5, maybe you say, okay, I'm going to think about having 5 tabs be included per month, but then maybe over 6, maybe I'm either going to bill or I'm going to like really look into these. I'm going to start pulling reports that show me tabs over 6 so that I can go look at these more and see what's going on, right? Defined chemical overage triggers. So maybe 3 pounds of shock is like whoa, that is crazy to be putting in a day. I don't know if that's real, but it could be. Maybe you want to know every time 3 pounds of shock or more are added to a pool. Skimmer can do that in reporting. Very soon, Skimmer is going to be able to do that in alerts, in an alert fashion. So that's why this is really important for you to define now, because you are going to have a feature soon that is going to help you recognize those without a report. But I'm going to show you how to do this today just so we can walk away with something. But defining those guardrails, that's going to be really key. So in here in this document, you're going to see a data tip to check out, and I'm going to walk through them with you real quick. So I'm just actually going to come into Skimmer, and I am going to come into reports. And if you want to get into your Skimmer and you want to follow along with me, feel free. And this is a good test to see, do you have data in here or not? So where I'm going to start, we have a couple different options to find this information and to find like, maybe we want to find out what our average tab usage is. Let's just start there, right? We can come under reports, and we can come under your chemical dosages report. And let me go back to my framework here. Yeah, chemical dosages report. So these are like just some places to check for guardrails, depending on what you want. I'm going to use tabs and shock. You may be interested in something else. This is all inside the account. If you are on the scaling up tier, you have access to these reports at this moment. So you would come into your chemical dosages report and set your date range that you're trying to look at. Maybe you want to look at last July so that you can plan for this year. Maybe you just want to look at the last month because it's accurate. Like, that's good. So totally up to you. You can set, you can set the last month. I am going to look at the current month. So I'm just going to look at February and where we're at currently. And I think a really good one to start with is doses by pool size. And the reason being is actually funny. I was telling my husband about this, webinar, and I was asking him for his opinion. I was like, "Is this enough? Do I have enough information?" And he was like, "Yeah, but like, what if the pool's really big and it calls for a bunch of tabs, right? Like you're not getting the full picture here." And I was like, "That's a good point." And this report can help us with that. So when I come into doses by pool, I come to select a chemical, and it's going to show me all of the chemicals that I have set up currently in Skimmer. Let's just say I want to look at tabs. What this report shows me, which the first time looking at it, I was like, I don't know what this is saying. But now that I've spent a little time with it, it's pretty cool because what it's kind of showing me is like, here's about right? We're not really going over 2 tabs on a 10,000 gallon pool. And again, this is fake data. This is not real. But it's showing me that we're staying pretty consistent when we're looking at like a 10,000 gallon pool. When we start to get bigger, that's where we're seeing the higher numbers in our report. So that may be normal. That may be normal usage based on this size of pool. But a really cool thing when I was playing around with this that I found is if we click on any of these little dots, it doesn't really matter which one, what will happen is we get a little calculator right here. and we can show the underlying data. So I can click on that. And what it then gives me is a list of everyone that is showing up in the graph up here and what their tab usage has been in the date range that I put in, which is really helpful because then from here I can say, okay, I want to see who my highest tab usages. I could always export this and get it into Excel, which is what I do recommend. I love taking data out of places and putting it into Excel somewhere that I can mess with it. But you could always come in here and just take a look and say, like, who's getting the most tabs? Like, and what is my average? If you took this out, you could average this pretty easily. But this is just a way for you to see. Very easy report to pull. Didn't take a ton. Literally just clicked a button and it showed me all my tab usage. So that's really, really easy. Another one, the other one, let's see. We have service history report. Yes, so your service history report, I'm sure you all already know because this is like a tried and true old report that has been in here for a long time. But let's say we wanted to see the same thing. We could pull our service history report right here, put in your date range, and export it to Excel. And I already did this, so I will show you what I found when I did this for my data. When I did it, I just like threw it into a Excel sheet. But here, if I want to see average tab usage, this gives me all customer data, names, addresses, technician who cleaned the pool, when we clean the pool, what the gallons are. So this gives me a ton of information. But I think if we were just trying to figure out like what is our average tab usage, I just come in here, click on this row, and it literally tells me the average right here. I'm averaging 1 tab per pool in this time frame across all my pools, across 54 of my pools. My friend actually did let me export his data as well because it's real from his Skimmer account. And so I pulled the same thing for him just in July. And if I come in here and look at his, he has actually real data. Here are all his chlorine tabs that, they put in the month of July. He averaged around 3 tabs per pool in the month of July. And if I really wanted to see who my highest tab usage was in that month, all I really do is like sort this. And we had some pools pull in 30 tabs in a month, which is, I don't know. I got to tell him about this because I don't really know. It seems a little scary, but we have it. So this tells us now top to bottom, like who are my highest tab using pools. But then I also over here have the gallons to compare it. So if I wanted to see like, okay, is this normal based on the size of pool? We have the gallons. Let me make this a little smaller just so it's not too huge. Okay, there we go. So now I have gallons versus my chlorine tabs over here. And I can look at this and say, like, does that seem pretty normal for this size? I don't know, guys. Those look like pretty big pools, like pretty massive pools. So maybe that's normal. And I shouldn't bat an eye at it, but at least now I have the data and I can look at it. All right, and then for the last one, I wanted to show you just like another option because everyone likes reports different. I did take this and I plugged it into AI and it gave me some pretty interesting stuff. So all I did was I exported the same report. And I will send you guys this prompt if you're an AI person, I will send you this prompt, but essentially I asked AI to run a dosing discipline audit on my data, not on my friend's data, but on my stupid data, and tell me any pools where we dosed over 2 tabs, over 3 pounds of shock, and I also wanted it to give me like a breakdown of excess tabs, excess shock, and my tech, like what's going on with my techs. So what it gave me is it flagged 11 visits that were over my thresholds that I set for my fake company. It gave me a table of who we overdosed at based on my conditions. It gave me a technician breakdown of who is at Haley, me. I am a mess. I am overdosing like a crazy person. And it gave me its interpretation, which was essentially like, this is not a chemical problem. This is a Haley problem. And you need to go train Haley because she doesn't know what she's doing. So this is also another really easy way if you're just not into like getting into spreadsheets and splitting stuff up, like you can absolutely chunk this into whatever you're using for AI and ask it a prompt. And I will absolutely be sending prompts with all of the follow-ups too. But this gave me a lot of really good information. And I have another AI prompt we'll look at in a little bit. But um, yeah, I think this is a easy way just to figure out whichever method you decide to go with out of the reports, like whichever report you like the most, to just kind of find out your usage right now and see what's normal across your teams and where would we have a problem. And what would the thresholds be that we either want to bill for or just want to know about so that we can take action on them. Um, so yeah, that was number two. And I'm gonna keep going because I know we're gonna get to time eventually, and I can't keep you guys here all day, but I'm gonna keep rolling. Amanda, anything I should know about in
Nothing in
the
the
chat?
chat. Nothing in the chat, but if anyone has a question they want to ask, feel
Yeah,
free. Remember, this is recorded content. Please don't keep your questions in. There's no stupid questions. I always say there
no.
is absolutely stupid questions, but guess what? There's somebody else out there that has that same stupid question. It's usually me. I'm the other person. So if you want to ask a question, please go ahead. If you think it will help other folks too. Oh, wait, there is one question, Haley.
Yeah,
Can we just address this as a group because there are folks that are on this call that are
yeah.
on a hybrid model. So
Mhm.
Tina asks, when pros use a hybrid model, how do customers respond to the
Mm.
corrective costs? And do they perceive that as poor maintenance, or just general, I think maintenance would be the other side. So I don't know if someone wants to take a
Yeah.
crack at that or Haley, but would love to hear.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to take a crack at it. I'll start, but interrupt me, anyone who is here who is maybe on a hybrid model and has better insight. Um, I think it depends on if the I guess my opinion would be like if it's maintenance versus corrective. If it's like what we talked about at the beginning, where your hybrid is corrective chemicals mainly. I think yellow kind of yellow algae just kind of happens. Sometimes you need phosphate removers because they have those trees. So I think like if you have the data to back up why these situations sometimes happen, I don't think that's a huge deal. But if someone else has an opinion, feel free to, to let us know because I see people do this successfully every day. Anyone on a hybrid? No? Okay.
Okay. The other thing I will say,
Yeah.
just from what I hear from our pros as they're onboarding, is again, it's in the service agreement typically. So your customer knows ahead of time what is
Yeah.
included and what is not included. And that goes back to that chemical strategy document that Haley provided. As well, something to consider is when you are again adding those dosages that are not included in your model, it is crystal clear on the line item and in the service report what was actually added to their pool. So again, it goes back to the record of the actual transaction of the service in the yard and then the follow-up invoice. So the two match. So there
Yeah,
should be no questions there, when it comes to customer facing communication.
for sure. Absolutely. Awesome. Cool. Oh, cool. And Michael put a little note in there to answer. Thank you, Michael. Awesome, y'all. I'm gonna keep trucking along. This one it will be kind of quick. This one, do I have defined categories for high demand pools? And I think this is just a moment to think about when you take on new business or if you have existing business right now, that is not your normal typical maintenance customer, right? This is maybe Airbnbs that you're servicing, someone who loves to run their heater 24/7, new plaster startup, someone with like a ton of water features, phosphate heavy areas again. The question here is like, are these pools being priced intentionally Or are they being absorbed like accidentally because we're just giving them the same as everyone else, right? Do you price your Airbnbs differently? And I'm sure many of you know that there is a pool in your care right now that eats at your margins. And I guess the question for that one is like, why is it eating at your margins? What is different about it? Should it be in its own category and should it have its own special pricing? And anyone else who comes along that's like that also follows that pricing trend. I think some guardrails to think about here is, maybe one algae cleanup per season is included. And if we got to do more than that, buddy, you got to pay for it, right? Phosphate treatments over X parts per billion are always billed separately. These are things you can put in your service agreement, just like Amanda said. Startup packages. Startup packages, you take on a new pool, you're doing a startup package that clears everything out and they're paying for the chemicals before you actually go out there and fully start service on a weekly basis so that they pay for that chemical usage up front rather than you eating that on just a regular service bill. So this is not about punishing your customer. It's about defining the categories that are going to be helpful for you all. And again, this is another thing that you can check inside Skimmer with your reports on like who are those high demand pools. But this is also a really good opportunity to test. Maybe you've never taken on an Airbnb customer. Or maybe you've not taken on like a really heavy commercial set of customers, right? Because maybe they are going to be on a Plus Chems model. They don't fit where you're at right now. This is a great opportunity for you to know that inside Skimmer, based on those setup ways, is all of your customers can be set up completely different. You can have one over here that's Chems Included, and you can have one over here that's Plus Chems. And you could just test it. Just take on a new customer and do Plus Chems and see if it works and see how it goes. This is a moment where like you can start categorizing, and in a really good just like proof of concept here is my friend who let me use his reports. He did this last year. He bought a route of 30 pools plus chems. He's been included with chems his whole business, and it worked. And he is now plus chems on more than 30 accounts now because as he keeps adding them, he just keeps adopting that model. And he has a split in Skimmer included, and that's their bill. And then the others are billed plus chems. So, and it works. Our payments platform can handle it. And even if you're not using payments, we have the reporting for you so that you can go bill that wherever you got to go bill it. So it's just an opportunity to test and to see what may work for you as you think about your strategy. All right, moving along, risk. This one I'll be a little quick with, but I think that regardless of your chemical model, there is risk. Even if you're plus chems, you got a risk in there. There is no risk-free model. There is only risk placement. So if you include chems, you're absorbing the volatility of that. When when chlorine spikes in price, you feel it. When July hits and your demand doubles, you feel it. You're the one taking on that risk, right? If you use a hybrid, you're splitting the risk. You're passing some off and you're keeping some of it. And then if you are plus chems, your customer is absorbing that volatility, but then you are absorbing that admin complexity that you're taking on inside of your business to manage your techs and manage the office and make sure that everything is dialed in. So there is risk no matter what you choose. And I think the problem, just to point out here, isn't risk. Like there's risk in business. It is what it is, right? But it's just not knowing that you're absorbing it. So I think that if you think about these questions, some of them in the document here, if chlorine jumps 20%, which we're going to test, and I'm going to show you how to pressure test this so that you would know if this is not going to be good for you. If chlorine jumps 20% today, who's going to feel that? If July demand spikes when we get to July, who absorbs that? And if the answer is I do, that's fine, as long as it's intentional. And as long as that absorbing the risk is not wrong, but doing it unknowingly is. So I just want to arm you all with the data that you need to be able to go and say like, yes, this is worth it. Like, and yeah, if it jumped 20%, I'm chilling. I'm still fine because my price on my pool covers it, right? So I think the message here on this one is if the goal is to scale, sell, or tighten your margins, you're looking at volatility if you don't define your risk. So that is just the takeaway from that one. And then lastly, do I know my true chem cost per pull? And we're about to find it. Um, and so I think at the beginning I asked, do you know what your true chemical cost is per pool or your average chemical cost is per pool? And someone said meh, and I get that. And so what we want to do is we want to pressure test this and see if we can figure out your true chemical cost per pool and just see if that's the margin you're looking for. So first thing we're going to do is find your real chemical cost. So there's, again, three different ways to do that. I think three different ways I put on here. Did I put three? Let's see. Yeah, three different ways to do this. So we're going to start at the profit report, okay? And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And we are going to start under reports. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to come into our profit report. And when we get in here, we are going to come and take a look at your customer summary. Okay. And when we do that, you can sort this by your dosage cost. So you should see your dosage cost in here. And this should be accurate if you have all of the things we talked about in the beginning filled out, your service rates, your labor rates, your chemical cost. If it's not, your reporting's not going to be right today, but that's just like a piece of homework to take. But I would just want to show you. So if we're looking at chemical cost per pool, this is going to show you that, and we can literally sort it and take a look and see like, oh my gosh, Alicia Keys is this is bad. But I want to use real data. So again, my friend gave me his data to use. And so I want to show you, I just exported that report out of Skimmer, and here is what we have. So we exported that report. This is the same exact report as what we have right here. It's just in Excel. And again, any of these reports you can export. There's three little dots right here, and you can go put it into the format that you like. But all I did is I exported, and this gave me everything. So I can see now my cost in chemicals per pull, okay, per customer. So this is it. And right over here, I made this margin row, and I just essentially took my total, what was it? My total profit divided by my cost, and I got my margin. Is that right?
You took your total profit minus your total cost, and that would
Cost.
give you your, yep.
That's my margin
Or you
percentage.
divided
Yeah.
it, got the percentage. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So here is your margin percentage. So yeah, if you're not great with Excel formulas, chat GPT it up, but this gave me my margin. And so this is actually hopefully going to be helpful to my friend where I can show him, hey, there are some people where you have a negative margin. Like we're not charging enough. Maybe they do need to absorb, the dosage cost here, but everyone has a different margin number in mind. I'm not going to harp on that. But you would be able to find your true margin per customer in here just by exporting this and doing a little formula magic or popping it into ChatGPT. But at the very minimum, this is going to give you your cost per customer. Okay. Other easy one to pull, very, very easy and simple, is inside reports, chemical dosages. You can come in here and you can do the same thing we just did in profit, but just come look at your cost by customer. We literally have a report for it that's going to show you cost by pool. Highest cost, lowest cost. You can filter this, turn off the top 15 thing and make it show you everyone, and you can maximize it. And now here we have really easy. We didn't even have to click any button, like really like export anything or click anything. It is showing us our true cost by customer here in chemicals. So that is another really easy way to take a look at your cost by customer. You can also, customer summary will show you a great view as well. This shows you if you wanted to break it down and say, okay, what is my tab cost per customer? I could come in and select tabs under chemicals, and then it would only show me tabs and it would show me cost by customer. So this is also another one if you're trying to like really hone in and see by chemical so that you're, maybe you're making those decisions on your thresholds. You can also do this, just as the last one I wanted to say, you can also do this with your service history. It will be a little bit more difficult because it's not including the cost that is pulling from your dosages. These reports are connected to that cost box. Your export here doesn't have that, but you could still probably export it and associate a cost per unit of measurement and mess with Excel and get it done. So there is definitely an option there for that one. All right, next little pressure test is identify your top 10 outliers. So for that one, again, pretty easy. It's going to be in your chemical usage in the profit report. So let's come here. If you're just trying to see your top 10 customers that are costing you the most, I think we already looked at this, but just in case, we're going to look at your profit. We're going to look at your customer summary. And we are going to come in here and we are going to, you could look at it as total cost if you wanted to, like who is costing you the most based on their labor and their chemicals. That's going to be your total cost here. And you can sort that up. Oops, wrong way. Sort that down. And it'll show you the top 10 customers that are, you're spending the most with. Or same way, your dosage costs may pretty well reflect those top 10 as well. Okay, so either one of these is going to give you your top 10 outliers. And then lastly, I wanted to show you how to simulate a 20% chlorine increase. I am sure there is a Excel guru out there that could figure this out. I did not have the patience for it, so I did use AI to help with this, but it was pretty cool. So I'm going to come into reports. I am going to come into my profit report again. And what I did when I did this one is I did true customer summary, I believe. Let me make sure. Yes, customer summary. So I did my customer summary. I put in my date range here with my friend's data, and I did it for July of this past year because I wanted to see peak season. If we got hit with a 20% increase on chlorine or chemicals overall, what would we feel from that? And so I just want to show you the chat. Let's take a gander at this. So my prompt, which again, I'll share with you, it's kind of long, but I wanted to run a stress test, assuming a 20% increase in my dosage cost column. I asked it to give me some things and make sure it included some things, and it spit me out my report, and it also spit me out a rundown of like what I could expect from that impact on my business. So it did give me like a full one, and I know we're running close to time. I'm not going to fully go through it, but I do just want to show you here. This is the result of what I was able to get from that pressure test. It shows me this is total profit right now. This is total profit with my 20% increase. So it gives me my change in how much I'm losing. The executive summary really tells me total numbers of what I would lose if we did that 20% increase. So it's just a way to pressure test to say, if this happened today, would I be cool? Would I really be rushing to raise prices? Like, am I protected as a business based on factors that you have no control over? Like economic factors, I think in the state of full service, were the number one like impact to the business right now. And these are things you have no control over, but you do have control on your pricing and your chemicals and all of that good stuff. So just want to show you what you can do with your data. It is all there at your fingertips. And as long as Skimmer is set up and just has your proper pricing in it, you got it. And then you can do whatever you want. Maybe you're an Excel master. Maybe you like ChatGPT. Maybe you just want a simple report. Like all of the options are there for you. So I think just to wrap this up, want to do a takeaway is that now that you have the numbers and you kind of know what reports you can use to find them, um, the question isn't whether this is happening. Like all of us have costs and risk and things that are going on in the business. It's just whether you're choosing what the outcome is right now. And so every report we have, I will give you a little tutorial to, but I just want to ask like that the last step here, which you can take offline, would be to make one strategic adjustment. I don't think today is about blowing up your business, changing from included to plus chems, or doing anything crazy today, but it's maybe just about adding one little strategic adjustment, whether that is defining your maintenance versus corrective and giving that to your team, right? That's a plus, that's a win. Um, Running your reports and seeing where you're at on your margin if you've never done that before, adding a tab cap. Categorizing your high demand pools. So you don't need a new pricing philosophy. I think clarity is going to win 10 out of 10. And I think that this is maybe just a good place to start to get those juices flowing. So I think just to close, y'all, and I'll kind of wrap this up, is that I think for years I thought that chemical strategy just meant like, well, I know that this is what we thought. Are the pools blue? Are the customers happy? Are we making money? That was kind of like our strategy, right? And if the answer was yes, we moved on. But now, after working with all of you business owners that are way more strategic than I could have ever thought to be, I think chemical strategy truly means that do I know my risk? Do I know my cost per pool? Am I placing that risk intentionally? And am I using the data that I have to make really smart decisions for my business? So if you leave with one thing, I just want to say again, don't go blowing up your business. Don't go blowing up your pricing model. Don't rewrite your contracts. But just pick a pool, pick a high demand pool, pick a new pool, test some of these things out and see where you land. And I think that the companies that are open to testing and changing and innovating over the next 5 years aren't going to be the ones who like know the most about chemistry. They're going to be the ones that know their cost to serve. And that's what I hope that these resources will do for you. And we'll make sure to get them out your way. So I think that's all I got for y'all. I just yapped for about an hour. Any questions? Anything I can answer for you guys?
Okay. So
Or
feedback
anything
is
in the chat?
lots of feedback on this being extremely helpful. So a couple things. Again, you have an entire package, like it's brilliant coming on Monday with everything in like really digestible content of what you've just learned. So sit tight till Monday. You're also going to get this recording. If you need help, for those of you that are asking on labor costs associated with the tech that's on that customer's account, please let us know. We can do use our import tool so we can help you. Your customer success team
Yes.
can help you bulk update this stuff. So if you're troubled in any way, please, I'll put my email in the chat and I will connect you directly with your customer success manager. So please reach out to me. I'll connect you with the right folks and we'll get this stuff cleaned up in the back end of the system in your settings to make sure you are able to track this moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And we love importing the data. So you just tell us what you need. And if you don't have the stuff in there, it's simple. So just let us know. And then yeah, there is a question here, Chansey. So
Yes.
the AI tool, I mean, I just use Chat GPT just because it's what our company gave us. But I know, like Amanda, do you use Claude? I
I use
hear
Claude
some people like
sometimes, but I
Claude.
rely really heavily on chat. And why I love chat, Chansey, the
Hmm.
more information you feed chat, you give it your website, you give it anything, any information that you have, it starts to know, it starts to learn your brand. It starts to learn, and every time you use it, it just gets better. So I love chat because I have whole lists of prompts that I send to chat.
Yeah.
And so it knows my, my role, and it would know your business. Like it's over time, it starts to really learn. So you sign up and then, yeah.
It learns. And I think one thing I'll say about these prompts, so like a cool feature, probably in anything that you're using, is you can make repeatable templates. So like those prompts that I put in, you could set up a repeatable template in there and then you just pop whatever data you want and it'll give you the same thing over and over and over. If you're doing this like weekly, you're running the reports weekly and you want this analysis done weekly, you just pop the report in there and it'll just give you the same thing every week so that you have exactly what you need.
Yes.
Um,
And Chancey,
yeah.
we can share prompts.
Hmm.
Haley's sharing the prompts on Monday, but keep in mind, whenever you're putting your customer data in there, if you
Yeah.
don't want to use your customer data, what you're going to do is you're going to copy the column of all your customer names out of what you're putting in chat, and you're going to label all the way down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you're just going to give those people a number.
Hmm.
When you get this sheet back from chat, you go and copy that column of the names back in and replace the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 placeholders, and then your customer's detailed name has never been in chat. That's how
Yeah.
we isolate it for our customers when we're using AI. We pull all of the personal details out and use a placeholder of a number, and then we put it back in once we get the details back that we need. Yes,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad you love that. So, any quick tips? I can write a quick tip post in the community as well in the pool deck. So
Yeah.
just know
Yeah.
you're getting
Names
all of this
or
content.
addresses too. You could just like delete the address if you don't need it. Like just get rid of it just so there's no chance. So like whatever is easiest with those reports and using chat safely for sure. What else? Any other
Thank you.
questions?
That's it. That's it for the questions. So thank you so
Okay,
much,
cool.
everyone. As
Yes.
always, just give us till Monday. We'll get this out to you. And yeah, I love it so much. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks,
As always. Oh, and
y'all.
the next one is on the March 25th. And
Yeah.
we're going to be going through mobile quoting. So for the folks that were asking about mobile, we will be unveiling all of our new mobile features. And then we're going to go into like the invoice flow. So for those of you that aren't familiar with mobile quotes and quoting in Skimmer, there's been a lot of enhancements, and we're going to go a deep dive on how to win more jobs next month.
Yes. Okay. Awesome, y'all. Thank you so much. I hope y'all have a great day and we'll see you next month. Thank you.